I was at a cabaret. I was studying music. My voice teacher had a cabaret performance. I was in that room. It's not an audience, theater audience. It's a cabaret. So everybody's eating and drinking, and there's this stage and whatever. And I looked at the end of the show. I looked across the room and I saw someone, and I said to the person next to me, "Who is that? Who is that?" And he said, "That's Peter Flint." And I said, "What does he do?" He said, "He's an acting coach." I said, "I want to work with him." Just that much. Just that much. And I started taking class with him. I started working with him. And then I started telling him stories about my deaf mother and father.
He's a Peter in your play, right?
He's the Peter in my play. Yes, yes. And he said, you should really write this down. And I said, no, this was not okay. This was not okay. I said, no. And he said, what you can do is you just come here, once a week. And he didn't even charge me. He was mentoring the whole thing. He said, you just come in and I'll just ask you questions. And I said, Peter, I told you 2 funny stories. I don't remember anything else. He said, well, I'll ask you questions. And I absolutely adored this man. And I said, okay. I said, okay, I don't know what's going to happen here, but, and he would ask, and that started everything. It just, all the stories started coming out. It just having somebody ask me, like even something as simple as, what do you do in the morning when you came down for breakfast? What was that like? And I said, well, nobody ever said good morning. And I've talked to my coda friends about this. We didn't, because they couldn't hear us. It's kind of like you can't go up to somebody and say, hey, good morning. We just didn't do it. When I had my first job, my boss complained because I never said good morning. I don't know. Even now, I feel weird saying good morning. I was writing a lot about it, and he said, I want you to go to this workshop where people just work on their things, work on their shows. It's not an acting class. It's just a workshop where people work on their stuff. So I said, okay. And the first time I did it, I was shaking so bad, I thought my teeth were going to break. I'd never experienced anything like that because it's my story and I don't talk about that. And it started easing off. And then one person in the group said, I want to produce. So you, 20 minutes of the show. All these characters are in the show.
Right.
So when you see it, you see all the different people. Should walk away thinking they saw a whole cast of people. They've only seen one. To make sure that it is, if it's a solo show, and that is where my expertise is in solo shows, that if you're going to do that, make sure that you have all the characters in it. Write it as if you're writing for 10 people in your show and you are going to do all of them. And you have to know what their physicality is. You have to know what their voice is, how to voice them. That when people see, like when people see me do this, they know that's my mother. All I have to do is do that.
Right.
They know it's my mother. And each character has its own individual idiosyncrasies, how they speak, how they react to the other, to me. Just make sure that it belongs on the stage and not as a memoir. Don't do an hour lecture on the stage. And one of the things that I found out, because this is a lot about this shows a lot about communication and what happens when there isn't any. And teaching, there's a lot in this, and a lot in this culture about hearing parents who have deaf children and don't learn to sign, and they really have no connection with their deaf children. And I'm saying it the other way. Deaf people, please, deaf parents, teach your children to sign, not just hello and goodbye, but seriously teach them to sign. That's what the show was about. And I found out later, my head of my sign language school and my teacher were both out there crying after the show, because now what they said was, we are now teaching our children to sign much more seriously. That's the one thing I have learned from this, is that I'm not just a playwright, I am a storyteller.
Yeah.